The stage lights blazed hot, casting stark shadows across the sleek desk. Where Stephen Colbert sat, his signature smirk dialed to perfection, the audience hummed low with anticipation, cameras rolling live at 11:47 p.m. on a sharp October night. In 2025, Stephen the Maestro Late Night. Wit leaned into the lens, eyebrows arched, grin wide enough to swallow the studio. My next guest tonight, he declared, voice thick with charm and a hint of mischief, is a rising conservative voice with plenty to say, and even more people saying for her. Please welcome Karoline Leavitt. The applause was polite, not wild. The crowd was not sold, yet they were curious, skeptical, waiting to see if this woman barely past 30 would play Stephen's game or dare to push back. They did not know her well, just a name tied to fiery posts on X and viral clips, a commentator who built a following by refusing to bend when she crumbled under Stephen's razor-sharp humor or hold. Her ground, Karoline stepped onto the stage, her presence cutting the air like a blade, no swagger, no pretense, just a clear-eyed, unshakable calm, her navy blazer plain, and simple screamed restraint, no frills, no gimmicks. Just a woman who knew why she was there. She did not skin the crowd for approval or flash a rehearsed smile. She sat legs crossed, eyes locked on Stephen, waiting for his move. The room felt it, a subtle but undeniable shift. This was not a guest here to charm. This was someone ready for battle, but not the kind Stephen expected. Stephen leaned forward, smile sharp as a knife. Karoline, thank you for joining me. I know it's probably odd to be here, what with me being whelming. The audience laughed. Right on cue, their chuckles a reflex to a self-aware jab. Karoline's lips curved into a half-smile, cool and measured. I do not do odd, Stephen, she said, voice steady, slicing to the laughter. Like wire, just different. The crowd chuckled, but Stephen's grin widened, sensing an opening. Well played, he said, leaning back. So let's get into it. You have been vocal about mainstream media bias. I assume that includes me. His tone was playful, but the question was a trap, baiting her to dodge or swing. Karoline did not flinch. She nodded once deliberately. If the shoe fits, Stephen, and I would argue yours is custom-made. The audience laughed, some nervously, some genuinely caught off guard by her directness. Stephen's eyebrows shot up, his expression a mix of surprise and delight, like a boxer taking a clean jab. Okay, coming in strong, he said, chuckling, but a flicker in his eyes suggested he had not expected her to hit back so fast. Karoline did not blink. No, she said, voice calm but firm, just not here to chase applause. The laughter stopped, not because it was awkward, but because it was true. The room felt the weight of a guest who was not playing Stephen's game. Stephen leaned forward, cards in hand, smile still there, but the air had thickened. You're not afraid to spar, are you? He asked, trying to keep it light. I did not come to spar, Karoline said, eyes locked on his eye. Came to speak. The words landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading to the studio. Not a zinger, not a punchline, just a statement so clear it forced the room to recalibrate. Stephen glanced at his cards, then back at her, smile tightening. He thought he still owned the moment. He was wrong, you know, Stephen said, slipping back into his rhythm. I have watched your interviews. You have that polished conservative energy. The media is biased. The government is overreaching. The country is being taken from you. The audience chuckled, feeding off his sarcasm. He pressed on, voice rising for the punch. But I have to ask, who exactly took it more? Laughs louder now. The crowd leaning into the mockery. Karoline did not react. She waited, letting the laughter fade, her silence louder than their claps. Then she spoke, voice even precise. It is not about who took it, Stephen. It is about who stopped caring what was taking the room when quiet, not silent yet, but quiet in a way that felt like the air had been pulled out. It was not a line for applause. It was a line to make people think. And it did. The audience did not know whether to clap or lean closer. They leaned closer. Stephen pivoted, smirk still there. But less sure you have strong opinions, he said, tone teasing, but probing. You are 20-something and already convinced you have all the answers. A jab was meant to sting, to paint her as young, brash, naive. The audience tittered, but it was weaker, less certain. Karoline raised an eyebrow, expression almost amused. You are 50-something and still mistaking disagreement for arrogance. The room froze, not a comeback in the late-night sense, but a dismantling delivered with such calm precision. It cracked the show's polished shell. The audience did not laugh. They did not clap. They watched, because Karoline Leavitt was not here to entertain. She was here to stand. Stephen nodded, slowly, smile faltering for a split second before recovering. All right, let's talk values, he said, flipping to the next card. You have said you want to restore traditional American ideals. What does that even mean? Back to the 1950s. The audience smirked, laughed, right on cue, ready for the punchline. About simpler times. Karoline stayed poised, hands folded in her lap. It means speaking without shame, working without apology, and remembering a free country does not last long with a fake. Pressed the air, tightened. The words were not loud, not angry, but surgically. The audience did not laugh. They did not know whether to clap or shift uncomfortably. They shifted because the truth in her words made the room feel smaller, the lights harsher. Stephen tilted his head, smile, now a mask. So you were saying I am fake? He asked, leaning into the accusation. Try and make a joke. The audience waited, expecting her to backpedal or soften the blow. She did not. I am saying this room does not expect honesty from people like me, Karoline said, eyes never leaving his, and I am not here to meet expectations. The silence that followed was not awkward, it was heavy, the kind that makes you feel every unspoken assumption in the room. Stephen did not respond right away. For the first time, the applause sign would not have helped. The audience was not watching a guest anymore. They were watching a reckoning. Stephen shifted in his chair, smile, not reaching his eyes. He tossed his cards on the desk, a casual move that felt forced. All right, Karoline, let's stop dancing around this, he said, voice sharper. Now the playful tone fraying you are part of. A movement pushing fear over facts is that not dangerous. The audience clapped. A few cheers broke through, but it was not the roar he expected. They were watching her too closely, waiting for her. A crack. Karoline folded her hands, posture unchanged. Stephen, she said, voice calm but piercing, you have made a living off snark. I do not blame you for it, but the country I care about does not laugh when people lose their jobs, their rights, their voice. So no, I am not afraid of being labeled dangerous by someone whose audience claps on command. The laughter stopped cold, no venom, no theatrics, just the truth. So sharp it cut to the room's reflexes. The audience did not clap. They did not shift. They sat. Because for once the applause sign felt irrelevant. Stephen chuckled softly, but it cracked, betraying unease. I am just trying to ask questions, he said, leaning back, hands splayed on the desk. Karoline nodded, expression unreadable, then asked, better ones. A silence that followed was not awkward. It was overdue, the kind that makes a room remember how much they have let slide for a laugh. Stephen glanced to the stage side, where someone waved, likely a producer desperate to keep the segment on track. He ignored it because deep down, he knew this was not a segment anymore. It was a moment, and it was not his. Karoline leaned back slightly, hands still folded. If you want to mock me, that is fine, she said, voice steady, almost gentle. But be honest with your audience about what this is. You did not invite me to understand me. You invited me to interrupt me. So your applause would feel earned. No one clapped, not because they were stunned, but because they knew she was right. The room was exposed. And it was not her exposure. It was their. Stephen sat back, hands flat. On the desk, smile, a ghost of itself. He had lines. Left rebuttal sarcasm, that familiar smirk, but the air had changed. It was not a comedy show anymore. It was a live broadcast of a guest refusing to be molded. Karoline adjusted her sleeves, a small, deliberate move, and said, Stephen, this is not a conversation anymore, is a test. And I do not need a passive crowd. Did not move, no clapping, no shifting, just eyes locked on her, not him. Stephen forced a smile, voice lighter than he felt. So that is it. You are just going to walk off. It was a challenge, a last-ditch effort to pull her back into his game. Karoline paused and stood slowly, movements deliberate, certain. I came here to speak. She said, you came here to win, but I do not debate for applause. I speak for people who never get invited to this room. The room held its breath. She turned to the audience, gaze steady, unflinching. You all came for entertainment, but maybe what we need more than laugh is honesty. Then she walked off, no anger, no storming, just quiet certainty that did not need a camera to justify it. The silence was not uncomfortable. It was earned. Stephen opened his mouth, but no words came. The band did not play, because it did not feel like she left the segment. It felt like she outgrew it in real time. Stephen looked at the crowd, then at his desk, hands still flat, smile gone. The camera cut to black. No applause, no outro music, just silence, the kind you feel in your bones. By 1:00 a.m. the clip was everywhere, unedited, raw, spreading across X, YouTube, TikTok like wildfire. Karoline seated. Stephen poking Karoline, standing, then gone. Comments poured in fast, relentless. That was not a walk-off, that was a walk-through. She did not storm out. She dismissed the show. This was not her meltdown. It was his hashtags trended by morning. Volbeat got cooked. She didn't flinch. Respect. Karoline, the internet was not yelling it, was remembering. The moment was not flashy, but indelible. Karoline did not react emotionally. She did not shout, cry, play victim. She refused to play at all. And that refusal made everyone question why they had been laughing. Stephen stayed silent. No monologue the next night. No reference to the interview. No post on X. He moved on. But the audience did not comment. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Subscribe for more powerful video.